I'm Todd Stewart. I'm ASC's Vice President of Public Art. I'm joined today by my colleague, Rendella Davis, who is the Program Director of Public Art of ASC. And we are going to go over the FY25 to 27 Regional Artist Directory call to artists that's out and give some best practices in terms of how to apply and provide some space to answer any questions that you all may have. Before I get started, you should have received a notification, but this meeting is being recorded. We're doing that to both capture the presentation that Rendella and I will give, but also to capture any questions you have and our answers to those questions so that we can share them with other artists on our website that may be interested. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. Start off, I'll give a little bit of background information on ASC, or the Arts and Science Council. We've been involved in public art project management since 1992. That's the year that both the City of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County signed and adopted a joint resolution to create the public art program. So this program is comprised of two separate ordinances, percent for art ordinances. One that the Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners adopted in 2002. The City of Charlotte followed quickly after that in 2003 with their own ordinance designating up to 1% of the cost of eligible capital improvement projects to the creation of public art. So each municipality has its own ordinance. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but there are some key differences that ASC manages for them. We manage these ordinances in partnership with the Public Art Commission. That's a 9-member volunteer oversight board with appointees from the city, county, and ASC. And they formally approve every artist for a commission through the percent for art ordinance, as well as have oversight of the various design phases and installation, and eventually accepting the work into the collection. ASC, through our contracts with the city and the county, are responsible for planning, artist selection, contracting with the artist, helping to facilitate community engagement, and then the facilitation of design, fabrication, and installation of the artworks. And to date, we've accomplished 197 projects. And the map to your right is a recent effort by ASC and Mecklenburg County Geospatial Information Services to map the entire public art collection. And that link will take you to that. It's also found on our website. All of this was achieved through a public art master plan that was accomplished pre-ordinance for both the county and the city. I like to share this quote because I feel it really sums up ASC's mission and our work in terms of culture for all and how we accomplish that through the public art program. It states that public art serves as a catalyst for connectivity, bonding people to a place and one another, generating a greater sense of pride and responsibility for places that enhance quality of life and celebrate communities' unique attributes. I think that's something really specific and pretty amazing about our collection and our program. It is very community-centered. Economic development and tourism, of course, are big selling points for public art, but all of our projects are made with the communities in which they're located, like their voice in mind. And we really encourage the artists to hear that voice and to design with it in mind. So now I'm going to shift and talk a little bit about the directory itself. A lot of this information, if you've had a chance to read the call to artists, the request for qualifications, it's the similar information from that. This will let me go through it a little more in depth and answer any questions you all have. So to start us off, the purpose of this directory, this will be our 3rd year doing this. So it's every 2 years we release a new call to artists in hopes of capturing new artists for inclusion in the directory and for updating artists who have already participated so that they can showcase their latest and greatest work and kind of how they've grown professionally and reapply. This is a means, it's an internal resource for ASC to solicit and to commission artists for projects up to $100,000. Previously, the threshold for budgets was 85,000. We've decided to increase that to 100,000 this time around because we've seen just excellent caliber of artists come through this directory. It's my personal opinion that anyone we've worked with, I've been very confident in their abilities, and I feel confident that this is an appropriate threshold for artists to start working in. So the qualifications are that artists will reside in either North Carolina or South Carolina, apply for this opportunity, hopefully be accepted into the directory, and then ASC and the Public Art Commission will use it for projects $100,000 and less to pair artists or to select artists for specific projects. It's not going to replace our request for qualifications or our request for proposals process for projects over $100,000, but this both gives a more efficient means of ASC to get artists on board quicker with our projects, while also giving artists that may not have as much experience with public art more of a fighting chance in what is a very competitive process, applying and receiving public art commissions. It also helps us in terms of our equity goals and the inclusion of more regional artists within the public art program, which is always something that ASC strives for, and the Public Art Commission. So as I said before, this is, if you're accepted into the directory, you're eligible for projects up to $100,000. In terms of eligibility, we ask that artists reside in either North Carolina or South Carolina. The submission of a complete application, not, making sure you cross your T's, dot your I's, everything's in its place. And please read that RFQ closely to see what we're asking for. Work samples that demonstrate an ability to create dynamic site-specific artworks and or the ability to tie design to a place or community are preferred. So that our preferred is important. As I said earlier, having experience as a public artist is not a prerequisite for inclusion in this directory. ASC sees this as a means of professional development and capacity building as well. Rendella and myself are project managers first and foremost, and we are here to help anyone who receives a commission either through this directory or through our RFQ process see their project through to the end, because the success of our artists is our success, and we take that very seriously. The artist's resume demonstrates evidence of professional experience within art and design. We would like to see that you have some experience working as an artist or in the design field. And then the artist statement of interest demonstrates an experiences collaborating with architects, landscape architects, and or community members to achieve artistic goals. So that's important. It's a kind of a defining feature of public art. Public art is very collaborative. The artists that we work with many stakeholders, community members, design consultants, to not only achieve their design, but to make sure it's well cited and fits within the community and the project from which the funding's coming from. So every project is a team effort, and showing some knowledge and experience working in that manner would be a wise choice if you have that experience. So a little bit more about the specifics of what this means. This is what's in the RFQ in terms of what we're asking you to submit. That's your credentials. Artists have the opportunity to submit either a resume or CV or a biography demonstrating professional history and skills or experience as a professional artist. If you choose to write your CV or resume, we ask that it's a max of 2 pages. If you're same for your biography, just like keep it under 2 pages, sweet and succinct, and give us the high notes of why you would be a great choice for this directory. I have a note here as well. This is something that we've learned from previous iterations of this call. ASC would recommend that artists apply individually and not as collectives or organizations or corporations. The reason for this being, time and again, when we've gone to select artists for commissions through this directory, there's been extraordinary work showcased with artists who applied as groups or collectives or corporations, but it gets confusing in terms of who are we actually commissioning as the artist when there's multiple people involved. So ASC's policy of contracting with artists is there's always a lead artist. We contract with an individual by and large. Now, after contracting with you, if you want to include other artists or fabricators, whoever, as subcontractors on your project, that is within your abilities to do so. But you will really be doing yourself a service by applying individually. And if you are a member of a collective of artists, each of you applying individually, in some ways, is more strategic. You're kind of upping your chances of not only getting into the application, but when we go to recommend artists from the directory for commissions, you and other collective members could be on that recommendation list and still have the opportunity to work together if one of you is commissioned. I would say the most important element of the application that we'll be looking at are your images of past work or your portfolio. Please submit up to 10 images of recent work or 3 digital videos or movie files. We ask that you limit those to 2 minutes each, and these should be completed within the past 10 years, so your most current work. We ask for a statement of interest or a video of interest. This is an introduction of you, why you're excited about being included in this directory, who you are as an artist, why you choose to work within public art, any experience you have collaborating, as I said earlier, with designers or community members. If you choose to write your statement of interest, please let that be 1 page maximum. The video should be no longer than 3 minutes in length. The video must be uploaded in the media section of SlideRoom, which means you'll be taking one of the images or videos that you have within your portfolio and kind of using it as your video of interest. And then an annotated slide list, that's just giving us the background information, the contextual information on each of your past works in the portfolio, and then 3 professional references. So from here, once you've applied, what we'll be doing to select artists for this application is convening an artist selection panel. And that'll be comprised of local arts professionals and community stakeholders. ASC makes their selections with oversight by the Public Art Commission, and the panel will review all eligible applicants to create a pre-qualified directory of artists and arts teams. Those accepted into the directory will be notified by ASC in writing, and we'll be using the following criteria to determine who gets into the Regional Artist Directory. And that is originality and creativity of past work, exemplary technical competence and comparable scale of past work, professional qualifications and experience, and consistent quality and production of art. Here's our schedule. So the call was released on April 1st. This is our first pre-submittal meeting. We'll be hosting another one on April 16th, and that'll be an evening meeting. That's from 6 to 7 through Zoom as well. And the deadline to submit your applications is May 6th, and that's at 11:59 p.m. EST. So at the very end of the day, that's when the deadline will be through SlideRoom. And please do not wait to the very end, because technology has a way of fumbling things at the 11th hour, and you will not be considered for the directory if it's late even by seconds. That's just a cutoff within SlideRoom. And then by May, June of 2024, we should have our selection panel convened and artist notifications sent out. And we will begin commissioning artists for specific projects as early as July of 2024. The application, you can find that at asc.slideroom.com, that link there. It's also included in the call to artists. And please note, if you've applied or were included in the Regional Artist Directory in prior fiscal years, you need to reapply. There's not really an efficient means for us to carry over artists from the directory from a previous fiscal year to this one, but I would also encourage you to share and update it with your most recent work. And the inclusion in the Regional Artist Directory does not guarantee a commission by any means, but it does up your chances incredibly. All right. Let's hold questions to the very end. I'm going to turn it over to Rendella, and she's going to walk through some of the best practices. So this will go into some of those submission materials that I just described. Rendella is going to talk you through how best to do that and some things to consider as you're forming your application. So Rendella, I'll turn it over to you. Just let me know when you want to advance the slide.
Okay, thanks. You can go to the next slide. So we wanted to be able to actually share with you some of the differences between studio art and public art. And so we thought this would be a good way to kind of showcase what those differences are. So when you think about studio art over on the left, with that, your emphasis is more on your personal vision, like what you want to create, what you want the artwork to be. But in public art, it's more of a collaborative vision that usually will always involve the architects, the landscape, as well as community members. It's less about you and more about the whole. It also requires limited business interaction for studio art because it's often handled by art dealers. But with the public art, it does require substantial interaction with public agencies, fabricators, consultants. There are a lot of moving parts in there that you have to be aware of and be able to be fluid within that space. Studio art also is personal expression, right? It doesn't take into account characteristics, interests, and concerns of the audience with your studio art. But with public art, personal expression is really important because it does need to take into account the characteristics, the interests, and the concerns of the audience, right? Because it is for the public. We want them to be able to engage with the artwork. With studio art, the scale is a personal decision, and it's usually within the parameters of a gallery or museum space, right? But with public art, the scale is determined in relation to the specific public space. It is often larger, and it does take into account visibility from a distance. Usually a lot of the public artwork is outside, but it is viewable by pedestrians as well as vehicular traffic. But we do have some artworks that are inside as well. But so the scope of that will change. And so you have to determine the scale based on what's been requested within that RFQ or RFP or project brief. In studio art, the emphasis is on your studio art skills. But with public art, we're looking to have you be more involved additionally with the design as well as the business skills, working with professionals that are also in related fields, and again, of course, with the community. Studio art, the durability of the art just needs to be sufficient for indoor or gallery conditions. However, with public art, we expect that it would be permanent meaning lasting at least 20 years. So you do have to be very careful about the materials that you use, the construction of the artwork. We do require North Carolina stamp engineered documents to verify the structural integrity of the artwork. It does have to be safe for the space, as well as a lot of public art is within high traffic conditions. So sight lines are often taken in consideration too when you're placing the public artwork. And the next slide, please. And so this is just a sample public art budget. This, of course, will not be the budget for all public artworks. This is just something in case you're curious and you've never had to create a public art budget, because you would be required to create a budget that would be reviewed and have to be approved by the stakeholder and the Public Art Commission. So this is a sample budget for a $100,000 project. So typically the artist design and project management fee is 15% of the budget. Sometimes it can be 20, just depending upon what's being asked of you. Sometimes artists are asked to create an artwork, but also to offer design inspiration for pavers or things like that that would impact the landscape area around the artwork. So you could potentially get, 15% or up to 20% within that for your artist and design fee. Fabrication is usually the bulk of your budget, around 45%. Now, if you are skilled at fabricating, you're the sculptor, you're the welder, you work with the materials and create the artwork yourself. You're a muralist and you paint the mural yourself. You can also be paid for the fabrication of that artwork. It's just like, so whatever your hourly fee is for what you're doing, plus the materials, fabrication, that also goes to you, but you would still break it down within your budget as fabrication costs. Installation typically is about 20% of your budget. And this is all things that are included as far as site preparation, transporting the artwork to the site, the installation of the artwork, lighting, if you've chosen lighting. Also, you would have to, have an electrician to actually do that work for you. So all of those things would need to be included in that installation cost. ASC also requires insurance with ASC as well as the stakeholder named as additional insured. We do require certificates of insurance within 30 days of being contracted for a project. So the actual cost will vary depending upon location, and we do accept like general liability insurance as well as fine arts insurance, and it could be up to 5%. Artist travel is at 5% as well. And that could be less just depending upon where you're located. Everyone within this directory will be located within North and South Carolina, but artist travel would also include, you having to come for, we do have a lot of virtual meetings, but you do have to have site meetings. You do have to sometimes meet with the stakeholder. And so you may be required to travel, as well as during your installation. You may need to be here for a week. So you would need to allocate funds for that within your budget for that week of installation. And we also require a contingency within your budget. We usually say 10% because that is not if something happens that you didn't expect, but it's more like when something happens that you did not expect. It could be an increase in the cost of materials from the time you initially got the quote before you actually contracted with that fabricator to actually create that artwork. There may have been an increase in material costs. There could have been some other electrical component that was not accounted for that you also need to include. So that's what that contingency is there for. And so this is a budget that's usually required during your schematic design phase. And next slide. So as Todd mentioned, we do recommend helpful hints. Start early, don't wait until the deadline to apply. You can literally be in the middle of your application in slide room at 11:59 p.m. on May the 6th. And if it goes over to 12 o'clock, it will cut you off and your application will not be submitted. So slide room does offer technical support. However, it's via email. And so we can't tell you how long it will take them to respond to your question. Todd and I can help you with other aspects of your application, but not the technical components as it relates to submitting in slide room and any issues that you may be having. That's definitely slide room. So start early, make sure you have your information in, and that any technical issues that could arise, you have enough time to actually get those taken care of. Again, Todd mentioned some of this previously within that letter of interest or video. Express your interest in this opportunity. Being selected for you is not a specific project. It's more of being selected to be within this directory. What your essential interests are as an artist, how being in this directory might help you. Definitely, again, mention any relevant experience that you have with public art or community projects or temporary projects. Within that letter or video, draw connections with the opportunity. Like, show us how you approached it. What was the result? So we want to know things like that. Discuss your process for conceptual development, designing and fabricating work, just in general. And we want to know, is your work typically site specific? Hint, we like site specific artwork. right? We don't want the same thing created for all spaces. We want there to be history, cultural context, information from community, things that make this specific for this site as far as scale, space, people, play, all of those things. We want to know, have you done that before? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Are you comfortable involving communities in your artistic practice process? Because as Todd mentioned, community engagement is extremely important. We want the community's voice to be heard and somehow expressed within that artwork. Now, how you express it is up to you, but we definitely want to be able to say, like, so this is what we got from the community, and this is how the artist actually integrated those thoughts and ideas within the artwork. Within that statement, also indicate ways a viewer may experience your work. Again, public art, we're looking typically for you to be able to experience it up close as well as from a distance, from driving in a car or just walking beside it along the sidewalk. And then, of course, close with why you think you would be the best artist for a public art commission. Why you should be selected to be in this directory as well. And so we do have an example from Stacy Utley. Now his example is just from a call, not necessarily from the Regional Artist Directory, but they're really good. It's a really good example of the things that we mentioned that you should include as, of course, identifying the call, what you're applying for, identifying whether you have worked within certain communities within the area. You know, some folks like, I'm a native of, you know, XYZ, you know, I know the history. I would be amazing at being able to work with community. Again, if you have worked with community, share those examples. Actually, you know, he gave bullet points of some projects. And you can use those and just actually expand upon those as to what you specifically did with those a little bit within your interest, and share a little bit about your background as well, within art, within design, within wayfinding. And then, of course, again, closing with why you would be a good artist to be within this directory that ASC is compiling. And next slide. And so this is, you can submit the CV, resume, or bio. Now, the resume includes all of your art-related work experience, starting with the most recent. And your biography consists of art-related work experience you want to highlight. So if you don't have a lot of experience, you may want to choose to do the biography and highlight certain projects that you really excelled in, and just give us more details about those and how they align with the goals that we have outlined for artists that we want to include within this directory. If you do the CV or resume, just make sure it's really concise and succinct. You see, it's really clear to read. It's not a lot of, it's not too wordy, because when the panelist goes through these, they don't have a lot of time to like read every single. Pick what's most important that you want people to know. You may not need to list every single thing. What's most important for that person to know as far as whether you should be selected for the opportunity. Next slide. So portfolio images are extremely important, extremely important. The images should be clear and focused. Don't submit composites. The composite is what's shown to the left. This is an artist, he does screen printed tiles that were integrated into a sidewalk. And he wanted us to see all of the tiles that were integrated within the sidewalk. But it's, you know, it's often panelists are confused about what's happening here. Better just to maybe pick one and just go into details, like, so, and just explain how many tiles were printed and what, you know, what they were comprised of and how, what inspiration you used for them, as opposed to trying to show them all. The picture to the right is a better picture. It has people included within it enjoying the artwork. You're able to get the shadow effect, really clear. So we're looking for really good images that will show your best work. And next slide. Those annotations that Todd mentioned, again, this is just an example of the annotation. You're going to give us the title. This is a separate document that you can upload, as opposed to trying to type all the information in the little boxes on SlideRoom. So it can be a PDF document that you upload with the title, the year, the media, the size, the location, the commission, who commissioned it, and a description. It can be a little shorter than what's listed here as well, but just something to give us some context for what we're viewing. Next slide, please. And references are extremely important. We will check references. Please, before you submit your references, verify their contact information is still accurate. A lot of folks change jobs, their job title changes, their email address changes, their phone number changes. And when I reach out, I'm not able to get in contact with anyone. So definitely touch base with them before you utilize them, especially if you haven't had contact with them in a while, just to make sure they are still a good and viable reference for you. Also include like the relationship and the reference, so that when I reach out, I know, so I'm reaching out to you, they use you as a reference. They were commissioned for a project for XYZ. Something like that would be really helpful for us. Next slide.
Yep, thanks, Randella. So earlier on in the presentation, and something that Randella and I have remarked on throughout this, is working with community, collaborating with community engagement. That is a crucial part of ASC's process for project management for the public art program. It starts from the very beginning. We include community representatives in our artist selection panel meetings. Community representatives will be included in the Regional Artist Directory application. It's crucial to us because we are designing for community members of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. So if you're awarded a commission and sign a contract with ASC, community engagement will be a part of that contract. ASC is here to help, both in terms of the kind of organizing strategy around community engagement, what it could look like, how to do it, even to help facilitate any kind of meetings, workshops, whatever you want to do. My approach, Randella's approach, is that it's very artist-led. Some artists have their own strategies for involving community members in either design of the work or how they kind of deliver or gather input from community members and then share their design. And we want it to be successful and effective. So we'll be looking to you in terms of your preferences, not just in terms of how you want to work with a community, but what types of information and how you want to include them in your process, because it will be your process in terms of design. Some things artists have done in the past, it can be as simple as meeting with a group, kind of introducing yourself, presenting on your work, presenting on what you know about the project, the community to date, asking for information from them to help guide and inspire your design. Some artists choose to involve the community members in more of a hands-on way. That can happen at the design phase, where like maybe there's certain elements or certain imagery that you're wanting to pull directly from a community or from residents. ASC can help you to facilitate those types of workshops to get the artists and get the community members more involved in a hands-on way. Some artists like Michael Morgan, who you'll see in the center image there, he actually involved the community members of West Charlotte in the fabrication of his work. He's an artist, he's a ceramic artist who works primarily in brick, and he trucked down hundreds of wet clay bricks. And then through an ongoing day-long workshop involved community members and kind of leaving their footprints, fingerprints, forming the bricks how he needed them for his installation. So the community members' handprints and footprints are literally embedded in the artwork that's on the CMPD Westover facade. Very cool. So there's avenues to do things like that as well. When it's possible, these projects are a part of a much larger construction project usually. And we work with our partners at the city and the county to include the artists in those larger public meetings. Often we're brought in at a phase when most of that has occurred already, though, because they're trying to get also their community input just to figure out what it is they're even designing in terms of a facility or a park or an extension of greenway system. We need to know some of those physical parameters before we can write a call to artists to bring an artist in. But with this process through the Regional Artist Directory, there is a possibility to get artists in earlier on and to be kind of involved in some of those public meetings and some of those discussions of what the overall space could look like to begin with. And then I also mentioned earlier, so the Regional Artist Directory in no way replaces our ASC's request for qualifications and request for proposals. I still intend to have these released several times throughout a fiscal year. So please always check on our website. There's a specific pull down resource for calls to artists, and that includes every open opportunity we have for artists to apply for public art opportunities. Through the request for qualifications method, it's a lengthier process. Artists submit, much like you'll be submitting for the Regional Artist Directory. We convene a panel along with the Public Art Commission, and then we're selecting finalists based on who submitted, bringing those finalists in for interviews, and then recommending one commissioned artist and one alternate to the Public Art Commission for the qualifications for those RFQs and RFPs are similar to the qualifications we're looking for from you all for the Regional Artist Directory. The big difference there is the Regional Artist Directory is geared towards seeking individuals who have the potential to create public artwork and to really successfully pull these projects off. It's not a requirement that you've had it already under your resume. You can have exemplary work as a sculptor, a painter, a muralist, an architect, whatever. If you are interested in becoming a public artist and working within the public space to create artwork, the Regional Artist Directory is still your best option to get your foot in the door. And if you're on the Regional Artist Directory, if you're included as an artist, that does also not prohibit you from applying for RFQs or RFPs that go out through ASC. You'll want to pay careful attention to the eligibility requirements and make sure there's not a budgetary threshold in which you've had to complete a project of a certain budget in order to apply and be eligible. But by and large, it won't prohibit you from being on the Regional Artist Directory and seeking other commissions as well. So that was a lot of information. This is Randell and I's contact information. You can call or write us at any time through those contacts. I'd encourage you to visit our website. The Public Art Program is just one program of several that ASC manages for Charlotte and for Mecklenburg County. We do extraordinary work. We have for the past 60 years in grants and granting opportunities to local artists, creatives, organizations, culture blocks. You can find more information on that on our website, as well as some of our efforts with cultural education and workshops that we give throughout the year. There's specific pull downs for our public art program. That'll include the ordinances I spoke to, as well as the map is located on that page as well. That's a recent addition. And then through the programs, you can also find our calls to artists page. And if you don't mind, please subscribe to or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at ASC Charlotte. We regularly send out updates for some of the good work we're doing in the community. Questions? Any questions from you all, either about ASC, the Regional Artist Directory, or some of the best practices we shared in terms of how to apply?
Yeah, I got a question. Sorry for being late. Anyway, life.
Yeah, no problem.
I am a full-time ceramic artist. I'm a potter and a sculptor, and I really liked hearing that you said that this is geared towards people who haven't worked in the public realm. Of course, I do festivals and shows and everything like that. There's one artist that I frequently collaborate with, and he's a Berlin-based artist, and I would really heavily lean on his experience. He's been a full-time professional artist for 35 years, and he is really recognized. And for public facing works, I would collaborate with him for engineering ideas and collaboration on materials and all kinds of stuff. But my question is, when applying to this, we really just want to focus, because I'm here in Charlotte. I live here in Mecklenburg County and in Charlotte. We really just want to focus on my background, not with my collaborator's background for applying to be on this, correct?
That's right. So the way I would go about this, you may have not joined quite yet, but we actually within the call to artists recommend that artists apply individually. So Brett, if you were selected to be on this directory and then recommended and selected for an opportunity through it, it kind of works within your favor to really showcase like who you are as an artist, your work, and to give people the best sense of like who it is that they're commissioning for this for. We've had experience in the past where when artists have applied as collectives or teams or even just collaborations with another artist, the artist selection panels that we convene to make these determinations, it's easy to get them confused in terms of like, well, if we select this person, is it this person or this person, or whose work is whose, or how will they work together? Have they worked together before? So I would say focus on your work within the images you submit in your CV or resume. But what I would also say is within your statement of interest, making it really clear what you just said, that you have a long-standing relationship with someone who has experience in public art, that they're a reliable collaborator to you. That's just making the case for you as well. Like, I think that would be the best means of doing that. And please include him or her as a reference. You know, that would be another way of kind of getting that in as well. That's a really good question.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep. Anything else? Well, if not, please remember May 6th, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's our deadline. If you have any issues with SlideRoom, which is the online platform we use for both you guys submitting your materials and us reviewing them, please contact the support at SlideRoom. They're much more knowledgeable about their website and the methods and means of submitting applications than we are. If you have any questions about the calls to artists or what we're asking for or looking for, things like that, please reach out to Rendell and I will be happy to answer. But on the technical side of things, in terms of the actual website, SlideRoom will be the best resource for you. And yeah, thanks for joining. You know, if you have further questions later, please let me know, and I look forward to you all applying.